All right, I think we are officially live. Again, I'm total amateur here. I have Farzad visiting, but a total amateur here. So finally figured out a good location in my house that actually kind of works. But those of you that don't know me, again, John from Tesla in Silicon Valley, president and founder. And I just thought that there's, a lot going on right now with the quarterly deliveries that were just announced, but specifically a lot that's been happening with this IRS tax credit. And what better way than bringing in Farzad, who's an ex-Tesla employee. He worked there for about 4 years, worked his way up to a program manager, and has recently, obviously, stepped off. And he's just been adding a lot of content. I've been kind of in passing with him for probably the past year, but this is really probably the first time I'm going to sit down with him and talk to him about something that is really relevant today. And it's been awesome too, just seeing Elon's been interacting with him specifically on it. Him just calling out a lot of the BS and actually some of the stuff that we had talked about in our interview back in May of 2022. So I thought it would be a really cool mix to just kind of get this bromance started, and just, bring him in and, thank him for his valuable time. So let me bring him in.
Bromance time. Let's do it.
Bromance. What's up, man? So
how you doing, man?
Thanks for the time. I know it's short notice, but you've been getting a couple of responses from Elon himself. I got one earlier this morning, in response to some of the interview footage that I had covered with him. But you're all over this. You're kind of like an expert. You even started a whole change.org petition. But I just wanted to get into this, I have some things that, we can obviously show as well, just to kind of get into like what this means. But I would love for you, and you already described it in your video earlier, I think it was about a day or two ago that you released it, really just describing how, Tesla was snubbed in this whole situation, and really what it means. But I would love for you to just kind of give a breakdown of what has been released by the IRS and what are the implications of this. And again, I have that tweet that you put up specifically where you literally have like five, I think it's like 6 or 7 SUVs where, yeah. But let's give the audience the details and then we can get into it.
Sure. No, yeah. I appreciate you having me on, John. Thank you so much. Like you said, we've been in passing for the last year, so I'm very excited to sit down and talk with you finally. Yeah, great honor to be on your channel. Thank you very much. Yeah, so this IRS, this IRA, so for those that are not familiar, I'm sure most of your audience is, but just in case you're not, starting in 2023, there's an Inflation Reduction Act that's kicking in for EVs specifically. It's a tax incentive that applies to pure electric vehicles and also hybrids that have a certain battery size in the car, where the government will subsidize the vehicle price up to $7,500 through a tax credit that you can claim starting in 2023. And these right now apply. It's a very weird way on how they've sort of designated who gets the credit and who doesn't. This is sort of the thing that's been fired me up, that has fired me up for the last few days, and it's got me like on this freaking war path. And my wife's like, "Calm down," and I'm like, "I literally can't. This is crazy." So
I've been seeing sorry to distract you, but I've been seeing all of your comments to POTUS, man. It's just
dude, I can't stop myself. I'm literally like just straight up like, crap posting on the poor guys, and again, I'm definitely not trying to be controversial, and I'm trying my hardest like to be as fair as possible, but sometimes I gotta let my emotions come through a little bit because it does bother me. So it would be a disservice to myself, to my feelings, if I'm not actually like honest about how I feel. So essentially what's happening is you have two different ways that you can claim the credit based on the car that you buy. You have a category that's for SUVs, pickup trucks, and vans, and there's a $7,500 credit that applies, and that applies to those types of vehicles up to an $80,000 MSRP. So if the manufacturer says, "I'm going to sell you a freaking, I don't know, an Audi Q5 e-Quattro hybrid with a 7 kilowatt-hour battery, and it's categorized as an SUV by the IRS, and it's under $80,000 MSRP, you get a $7,500 credit." So very good. So So in the case of Tesla, where they're getting really screwed over is that they have four vehicles, right? They have the S, the X, the 3, and the Y. The S and the X do not apply, which because they're over $80,000 in either category, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. They're very expensive cars. We shouldn't really be subsidizing expensive cars. No problem. I'm okay with that. Some could even argue 55 is an expensive car, but let's just go with what the government has come out with, right? So then that applies to the 3 and Y now. The Model 3 would fit into the all other category because it's a sedan. It has four doors and it's a sedan shape. It has a trunk. It's not an SUV. It's not an SUV by the EPA. It's not an SUV by NHTSA. It's not an SUV by the IRS. So very good. So the 55,000 MSRP limit, no problem. Fair and square. I don't care who really applies, if they're a hybrid or not. The Model 3 is a sedan. Very good. Where things get really, really weird is that for the Model Y, the IRS has decided that the 5-seater is a sedan or an all other, and the 7-seater is an SUV, which is basically the same car except for 2 additional seats. So this is the problem that's causing. So the reason why this is a problem is the 5-seat Model Y starts at $66,000 right now, 64, excuse me, which is well above the all other categorization of 55,000. However, if it was simply categorized as literally every other SUV is, it would fit within the $80,000 MSRP limit, which would allow it to get the $7,500 credit. But because the IRS said, nah, you're not an SUV, it literally doesn't get a credit. So this is the kind of environment that we're in now. We have, as an example, I've picked out 5 of the most egregious examples I could find on the IRS. This is directly from irs.gov. If you go to their, it's crazy. You go to their website. This is literally pulled from their website. So the 5 cars I have listed here, as you notice, all 5 are SUVs. All 5 have 5 seats, just like the 5-seat Model Y. And as a kicker, all 5 of them are hybrids. They're not even pure EVs. They're hybrids. And you can see that those 5 cars, which includes a Jeep Wrangler, by the way, have anywhere between 61 miles per gallon 61 mpge, so miles per gallon equivalent, all the way down to 20 mpge for the Jeep Wrangler. And then you look at their EV range. The max is 37 for the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid. The least, no surprise, is the Wrangler at 21 miles. But every single one of those get the $7,500 credit. So you can buy a Jeep Wrangler 4XC, a 5-seat SUV hybrid with a 20 miles per gallon equivalent and 21 EV range, and the government will give you a $7,500 EV credit to buy that car. But when you go buy the 5-seat Model Y, they will not. And that just blows my mind. I just can't understand in what world that's even okay. And so the more research I've done, it seems like the IRS is using a categorization from 2009 that is somehow relates to like the height, the pitch. I don't know. It's some convoluted definition that says.
Didn't you find the weight too?
Something like that. I don't even know, dude.
You had commented on the 230 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very confusing. It's a rule set from 2009 that they're using to say it's an SUV. But here's my problem. My problem is that the EPA and NHTSA, both organizations that are really govern the road and vehicles that are put out there. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, are the ones that measure the efficiency and the miles per gallon and your carbon emissions of your car. NHTSA is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, so they look into the safety of your car to make sure it's outfitted properly for the road. Both of those organizations label that 5-seat SUV, really all Model Ys, as an SUV. And so why does the IRS not call it an SUV? It's really, really weird. So there's 3 things going on here that I can think of. One is that this is some sort of big mistake, and the IRS is using some sort of definition that just should not apply. I don't even care if it's valid. It just simply shouldn't apply, because then you're creating this insane incentive structure to buy a gas car with an EV credit. It makes no sense to me. So hopefully it's an error. The second one is that, I don't know, for some reason, who knows? They're really sticking to this categorization of this. Well, you have to have a certain height and a weight for the car, which if Tesla wants to play ball, they're going to have to make their car heavier. They're going to have to make it more complex. They're going to have to make it more expensive, which completely defeats the purpose of a tax incentive. So that's the second one, which also doesn't make sense. And the third one, which is the most corrupt, the most dark, and I really hope it's not the case, but every day that goes by, I feel more and more like this is the case, is that it's some sort of incentive structure for Legacy Auto to be able to sell their most profitable cars and masking it as an EV tax credit versus the best-selling car in 2023 SUV, the best-selling EV SUV, which is going to be the 5-seater Model Y, is not going to get the tax credit when you have a Jeep Wrangler that's going to get it. So I don't know. It's just nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. That's really
Yeah,
my
no. I
conclusion.
mean, like when I spent some time with Elon literally last year, I mean, he got into it. I mean, it's crazy. Like last Q4 of 2021, I mean, they were literally not even invited to the EV summit. So I feel like there's a
Right.
lot more playing into this. And one of the comments, I mean, I'm not a big political guy in general, but it really wasn't until I started following Tesla where I realized how much things are political with this stuff.
Same.
Right. The UAW, like specifically, they've been on this crazy campaign since 2017. Again, I had posted, if you check some of Elon's comments today, he responded, he said correct, but they literally have been on this campaign to literally just defraud him pretty much, or fraud him. And yet they've had multiple presidents that have literally, come out as fraud. Right. And yet here we are, like, they're literally like, this is the most American company. They're 100,000 employees. They're literally building cars in America. Sure, there's a couple other countries, but like, it makes no sense to me that they would go this far. I mean, who cares at the end of the day whether they're union workers or not, which we can get, maybe that's a discussion for a different day. But this tax credit literally makes no sense, especially I think, again, a lot of your visuals and the stuff you've been bringing to light. This specific thing here, let me just show this. Let's do this view. I mean, this is insane. I mean, at this point, like, why are we still making hybrids? This is 2023. I mean, a Jeep Wrangler with 21 miles of EV range is literally getting $7,500.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
all of
bananas.
like that. I mean, everyone's going to be buying these. I mean, this may become the best selling EV.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
It's wild. And then layer on top of that, the one thing you talked about, Tesla being the most American car company, it is. But here's the
yep,
deal. That Audi Q5 e-Quattro is built in Mexico and it's a hybrid and it's getting
yep,
a federal US tax credit. Like these are
yep.
the things that just don't make sense to me. Like if you're really going to work, and this is why I'm trying my best to give the benefit of the doubt to the government and say this at best is incompetence. Okay, like we just screwed up. I get it. Government is slow to change. There's a lot of complexity to the bill. Maybe there was some complexity in interpreting this. Okay, fine. But let's highlight just how ridiculous the landscape that we live in now is. And what I've heard back is like, well, the 7-seat Model Y applies. And I'm like, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is that all these other cars are incentivized to get a $7,500 discount when the most affordable SUV, EV, best bang for your buck, highest range, most reliable, the one with all the supercharger networks, the one that has a track record of being the best EV on the road, the US customer, the United States customer will not be able to take advantage of this credit. So I'm looking at it less from like benefit to Tesla, and I'm looking at it more from like, my tax dollars funding something that's going to do the opposite. And that's what really upsets me is that I don't even care. Honestly, I could care less how this impacts Tesla. Honest to God, and I can say this as a former Tesla employee, fan of Elon, investors for 10 years. I could care less what this does to Tesla. I really care about my tax dollars funding a Jeep Wrangler instead of a 5-seat SUV that has 330 miles of range. That's completely mind-blowing to me. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of gotten ridiculous. I mean, it becomes more and more evident as really, in my opinion, as time goes on, just how political things are. And I think you had actually, I saw your tweet, Emmett Puppers put out a tweet here. I'll just show
Yes.
this, potentially some action. I also want to highlight your change petition, but I mean, you literally can email pra.comments@irs.gov and literally just put in this information. Again, go to Farzad's Twitter handle. and it's in the description. But you guys can look and just take action. I mean, this is as you said, even insane. Like Tesla shouldn't have to literally now make the standard car a 7-seat just to qualify, which at this point I would assume they probably are going to. I mean, why would you not, right? I mean, I think every car that rolls off the lot should be a 7-seater, unless something's going to change.
Well,
what
the
do you think on
complexity
that?
there, yeah, the complexity there. I mean, Tesla can do a bunch of different things. They really can. They can gimp the Model Y 5-seater to have, I don't know, 50 miles of range through software and lower the MSRP to 55 or 54.9, and then give the customer the option to upgrade their battery, kind of very similar to what they did in Canada. That's fine, but that's like a loophole that doesn't need to be there. The other thing they could do is just crank out Model Ys and maybe take a $3,000 hit, but then you're making a more expensive, more heavy car. That, by the way, that third seat is probably going to be supply constrained like crazy if you're really going to push all of them. So from like how many people will be able to buy that car is going to dramatically slow down how many cars you can get out there, which is again a completely different, like it just none of it makes sense. None of the incentives make sense. And I think the right thing to do here is for the government to correct this error and to actually make the bill do what it's supposed to do, which is transition the fleet to electric vehicles using American labor and an American supply chain. If that's the intent of the bill, then you want to maximally incentivize the cars that do that to the fullest. And instead, it's penalizing those to the fullest. And that is what's the most strange thing to me. And you're still incentivizing people to buy cars that use gas. Cool. That, like, literally in 2022, you would not have been able to buy a gas car with a $7,500 credit. In 2023, you can now. And you're telling me that's an EV tax credit? I don't even care about the environmental impacts. Again, as a US taxpayer, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yep.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I've been like ranting and yelling for like 15 minutes. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that's why you're here, man, because I knew this would fire you up.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, I mean, even like my Model X, it's December 2018 production. I got it in June 2019, but that had 7,500 tax credit too, right? And so it's crazy. It's you fast forward almost 4 years now, and we're still doing the same freaking thing, right? I mean, I'll get in the carpool lane and I'll see these BMWs like 525Es, and it's gas, and it's like they're still being incentivized. They get access to the carpool lane to literally get in the carpool lane, and it's still gas. And again, it sounds like we're just repeating ourselves 4 years later. That's what I think is crazy to me, is nothing is changing. And that's why, again, for me, it's got to be one of those things where there's probably some additional things going on in the background. I think Elon had made this comment again in the interview that we had with him, was that Tesla is at a complete competitive disadvantage when you literally give a car almost like a 20% discount like this.
Yeah.
And so, this is, for all the Tesla bulls out there, I mean, honestly, who knows what the impact is going to be on this? I mean, demand's not an issue per se, but, people are, this, especially in a recession, people are gonna, potentially look at other options with this type of incentive, unless, Tesla does something or the government changes, right?
Correct, 100% correct. Yeah, if you don't mind bringing up Emmett's tweet again, if you could real quick, because I do want to create some actions on that. So if you are interested in fixing that bill, if you're interested in fixing the incorrect incentive structure that we have right now, which is literally the opposite of what the IRA EV tax credit was meant to do, and you're a U.S. citizen and you're somebody that really wants to change this, Emmett, follow exactly his directions. Email pra.comments@irs.gov, put OMB control number 1545/2137 in the subject line. And then if you also would like, add your comment, tell them why you think this is not correct and why you want it fixed. And then there's also a petition on change.org. Thank you very much for pulling that up. It's got over 20,000 signatures already, which is freaking insane. Thank you all so much for doing this. done
Couldn't
about, I
go up.
think, yesterday or 2 days ago. Perfect,
Yeah, yeah. I
21,000
signed
almost.
it, just not signed in right now.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you. Yeah, and so this kind of outlines the situation, and it says, "Hey, this is how we got here, and the miscategorization is what's causing the problem." And then the two action items at the bottom, where the best case scenario is remove the incentive, like the ideal fix, remove the incentive for all hybrids, and apply the SUV stuff correctly. And the next best fix is to just apply the SUV stuff correctly, so that the Tesla Model Y 5-seater can get it, so that the Mustang Mach-E can get it. Like the Mustang Mach-E for the last two trims, they don't categorize the Mustang Mach-E as an SUV, and it should be an SUV. So that's another thing. I'm like, what are you doing? And that's why part of me is like, I don't really know if it's truly like corruption. I think they're just dumb. Like they just don't know what they're doing, and they need a
Yeah.
little bit of help to fix it. So this is all, it's just trying to even the playing field. It's trying to create the correct incentives, and it's bringing to light something that seems like a very big oversight that's going to cause it's our tax dollars as US citizens are going to be misused in literally the opposite manner that it was intended to be used for. So if you agree with this and you think it's something that should be changed, again, follow Emmett's tweet, follow the directions, and then include the link to this petition, so that those lawmakers can see that, hey, there is like tens of thousands of people that feel like this is something that needs to be changed. So yeah, and thank you for bringing awareness to this, John, because it is something that just, it's mind-boggling, and we need to fix it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's I think originally I guess it didn't, until really you brought out all the details, and that's what I think. What I really love about what you're doing is you're adding a lot of value and kind of taking a couple of layers of the onion back, right? And really just deep diving in and like, what does this mean? And I think when you literally spilled it out, I think in this tweet where you lay out 5 SUVs that are literally getting maybe 20 to 30 miles of range, maybe it's like, it's a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like 2023. And so like, what's the point of this? And the funny thing is all these guys probably in California are going to get a carpool sticker. And so the carpool lane is just going to get worse.
Yeah.
But to focus on this, like, that's the value that you're adding here. And so that's why, I know you started the petition. And then also too, thankfully, they're starting to take comments now and to hear from, obviously taxpayers. So I'm really hoping that this, evens the playing field, as you said. I mean, this is like,
Yes.
whether it's bringing the Mach-E and the Model Y 5-seater. But yeah, it's just, it's become like a joke. And
Yeah.
um,
Just level the playing field, correct the broken incentive at the very least, and ideally remove the hybrids, but that's probably too late for now. But at least make it so that if people do want to buy the best EV on the road that's most American made, that it gets the credit. That's so that we as taxpayers fund the company that's doing the best job in making the transition away from gas cars into EVs. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that's an unreasonable
well,
request.
if that's the plan, just do it, right? I mean, it's like,
Right.
if you don't tell us you're doing it and then do a half-ass job, right? I mean, just do the full job. But yeah, no, I just wanted, to really bring light to that. I think you did a really good job just informing people. I think this is going to be hopefully a good resource to everyone out there. Again, just make sure to follow Farzad on Twitter. Again, all of his information's in the description. Feel free to support him as well. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where a lot of this stuff needs to be brought to light, and it's not something we can sit on, especially given our followings. Like, I think it's important to make sure that we are just on top of it, and help out not only Tesla, but really just this movement that we're all pushing for, right?
That's right. Yeah, we should all be in this together. Like this, I'm trying my hardest to not make this only a Tesla specific issue. I'm using the Tesla Model Y as an example because it's by far the most glaring example of how broken this incentive system is. But this is, Ford, the Mach-E is getting screwed over just as badly. And you have other EVs that are going to get screwed over just as badly because we're incentivizing the wrong vehicles. And so, if you agree, if you're somebody who agrees with this, I really encourage you to send an email to what Emmett showed before, and and let's see if we can get this changed so that Tesla isn't forced to do some stupid loophole, which is going to make the car more expensive and just a bigger hassle for the consumer to take advantage of the credit. And ultimately, like, we should be incentivizing the most correct actions. We shouldn't be incentivizing the most incorrect ones.
Yeah, totally. So again, based on what Farzad's saying, two ways you can take action is obviously listen to Emmett's tweet. I just retweeted it if you're following our handle, but you can literally email the IRS, pra.comments@irs.gov. Obviously, include the OMB control number 1545-2137. And again, tell them to include the Model Y, give them a little bit of perspective of why they should. But then there's also two. Again, it's in the description. There's a petition that Farzad has started that it's already up to 21,000 signatures. But we want to let the people that have made this bill, which is the current administration and the IRS, that we need change because this is just getting kind of out of control. So. Yeah, make sure to take action. Again, let's hit the like button, to make sure we can get this word out there. But really appreciate you taking kind of like, again, an aspect of the community, specifically on this side, to really just bring light to just the stupidity that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. And again, it's not, I'm not trying to like bury anybody or like trying to like, talk bad about the government. It's something that's broken. We need to fix it. And whatever I can do that, to help, I would love to do whatever I can. It just so happens that I love numbers and this is right in my wheelhouse. And I was like, oh my God, this is freaking crazy. So it was kind of fun for me to put it together. But at the same time, again, as a taxpayer, I'm just not okay with it. So yeah, thank you for giving me the platform, and appreciate everybody who's listening and watching this. If you feel like this needs changed, I would encourage you to act.
Definitely. Sounds good. I'm going to remove you real quick. But yeah, no, I just, Farzad, thank you so much for the time. I mean, you're an awesome asset to the community, really bringing and shedding light to something that is just kind of ridiculous. So again, the description for the petition, again, I recently retweeted Emmett's feedback again to, I think it's like PMA comments@irs.gov. But long story short, you have all the information now. If you agree, take action. But I just really thought Farzad's just been doing a great job to be exposing just some of the nuances of this and how kind of ridiculous that they've gotten. So I thought it would be great to just bring him up and do this. But thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully you all found this helpful, and hopefully you have a great week. Sounds good. Thanks.